Okay, so I want to go over what is on your midterm. This is the study guide. It's available on Canvas. You guys can download it and check it out. I want to walk through this. One, to explain what to expect on your midterm in terms of both content and question types, and give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions you might have. Okay. So again, this is available on Canvas. You can also check out the videos that are posted there as well. Yes?
I don't see it on...
Let me make sure it's published. It might not be. It's not. There it is.
Is next week's class the whole, like, is it a midterm for the whole time, or are we going to do something?
That's it, just midterm. Okay, so this is done. So let's run through this. This will kind of be a crash course in what we've covered for the first half of the semester. When you go through your study guide and you're preparing for your exam, do so with this truth in mind. If it is on the study guide, it's on the midterm. If it's not on the study guide, it's not on the midterm. Easy enough. Any confusion on that? Okay. So, know this. This is the agent-environment interaction model. It shows how the agent interacts with the environment. So, you need to know what all of these pieces are and how the whole thing fits together. So, let me run through it really quickly. Agents on this side, that's this rectangle, that's the square. That's this square, and the environment's on this side, that's a rectangle. You need to know their shapes.
I'm going to draw out all those circles.
Let's circle the rectangle.
You rounded corners.
So here's how this works. The agent receives percepts from the environment using its sensors. Okay, percepts are inputs. It takes that information and it runs it through their agent program to figure out what to do. Once it figures out what to do, it takes an action using its actuators on the environment. Okay? And the whole thing repeats. This is a big cycle. Questions on this? All right. Moving on. You need to know what a performance measure is and how that impacts decision making. Performance measure is an evaluation of states. Okay? It's an evaluation of states. It looks at what is happening in the environment. So again, states are snapshots. Still frames of what's happening in the environment. So it looks at what's happening as stuff is going on in the environment. It evaluates the states to see what the agent is doing. And it awards typically numeric points based off of what's happening. Now, an agent should select actions that will maximize its performance measure. Okay, so a performance measure is an evaluation of states. It determines whether or not the agent is doing the right thing. And on the agent's end, its decision making should maximize its performance measure. Kind of common sense here, but make sure we're all on the same page. All right, questions on that? Characteristics of rational agents. Rational agents, fill in the blank, always do the right thing. Very good. Rational agents always do the right thing. Well, we might disagree on what the right thing is, so what basis do we use to establish what the right thing is? Performance measure. The right thing is defined by the performance measure. Good. Questions? Okay. 4. Characteristics of types of environments. So you need to know what these terms are and what they mean. First, fully observable. A fully observable environment is one where you can see everything, where you have access to all of the information. Nothing is hidden. Okay? Like checkers is fully observable. Is poker fully observable? No, you don't know what's in their hand. Okay, some information is hidden from you. In Wampus world, is that a fully or partially observable environment?
Partially.
Partially. Good. Make sense? Questions on that? Difference between fully and partially observable? All right. Single versus multi-agent. And this is where there's either one agent in an environment or multiple agents in the environment. The tricky thing here is to distinguish between what is an agent and what is a characteristic of the environment. Agents typically are going to make decisions about what's happening in the environment. So they're going to make decisions about the environment and they're going to act on the environment, not be a characteristic of the environment themselves. Okay? Again, think about the difference between a wampus, which is a characteristic of the environment, and the agent that is making its way through the game. When we looked at the dodgeball game, and we evaluated the people playing dodgeball, that was a multi-agent environment. Okay, question?
So, like as you said, a Goomba is not necessarily, or isn't an agent because its reactions are literally based off of a set environment and it does a set motion all the time no matter what.
Right.
So it's basically a good way to put it as in, if the agent makes its choices based off of another agent, that's when you know it's an agent.
Roughly, yes.
And if the character makes its decisions based off of the environment, more so of just reactions than decisions, then it would be not an agent.
Yeah, there's some gray area, but typically yes. You could make arguments for whether or not a Goomba is an agent or a characteristic of the environment. I would probably characterize it as an agent, even though it's not an intelligent agent, just because it fits more into that category based off of the other type of agents. But again, there's a lot of gray area there. I'm not going to ask you questions about is this an agent or a characteristic of the environment. We're not going to get into that. But what you described sounds good. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Competitive versus cooperative. Again, this is kind of common sense here. Whether or not the agents are working together or against each other. Deterministic versus stochastic. Spend a little bit of time on this. Deterministic environments are ones in which, given an action, you can determine the state that results from that action. So if I do this, I know this will be the resulting state. Okay.
Can you say that one more time?
Sure. Deterministic environments are ones in which you can determine the state that results from a given action. So 100% chance that if I do this, I can predict the state that's going to happen. Bless you. And a lot of two-player board games are like this. Right? In checkers, if I make this move, given this action, there's 100% certainty that I can determine the state that's going to result from this action. Okay? Same thing, chess, Connect Four, all that sort of thing. If I drop my checker here, if I take that action, I can determine with 100% certainty the state that will result from that action. Okay? This is different from stochastic environments.
Can you give an example?
Wampus World. The action I choose is step forward. If there's a breeze in that, I might die. The state that might result from that is discovering that it's okay or falling to my death. Okay?
Basically, it's the difference between a known result and a unknown result.
Yep. And the idea here is, this is important in AI because in deterministic environments, it influences our decision making. Because if I can determine with 100% certainty that given this action, I know this is going to happen, then I can enumerate all of my actions and predict what's going to happen from there. If we didn't have a deterministic environment, we couldn't use things like minimax. Because I couldn't be able to determine specifically that this is going to happen from this. Okay. Any other questions on types of environments? All right. Be able to explain the depth-limited search. So we touched on this briefly. The depth-limited search is an extension of the depth-first search algorithm. The way it works is it runs depth-first search, but it caps at the limit or the depth at which it'll go before it then spreads out to go breadth. Okay? Again, the reason we looked at depth limited search and iterative deepening depth first search was some of the inherent flaws with depth first search. Typically when you get into looping, just running into the series in the same stage, when you're trying to figure out what to do, that avoids that problem. So depth limited search is simply depth first search with a limit on the depth it will go. Questions? All right. Same thing with iterative deepening depth first search. It runs depth first search, it runs depth limited search over and over again, increasing the depth by 1 each time. Okay, so first time it runs depth first search with a limit of 1, then it runs depth first search again with a limit of 2, and then 3, and then so on. So it iteratively, each time you run it, increases the depth. And there's examples of that inside of the searching topic outline. You can go back and look at those as well as explanations. Okay? And again, I know I told you this, whatever's on here is on your midterm. If it's not on here, it's not on your midterm. Everything that comes from here came directly from what we talked about in class. Okay, so from the topic outlines, you go back and look at the videos, that sort of thing. Bless you. Questions on 5 and 6? All right, 7. Be able to use depth first and breadth first search on a tree to determine the order the nodes will be visited. Again, all of you have done depth first, breadth first already. Should be relatively simple. A star. We spent a good bit of time on A star. Here are the things that you need to know. First, you need to know the basic formula F equals G plus H and what that means. G is the cost to get to a node from the start. H is the heuristic, or how good that particular node is. Add them together, that gives you the F cost. You need to know what the open and closed list are used for. The open list keeps track of our available moves. These are the nodes that we have discovered but not yet moved to. The closed list holds the nodes that we have visited. We've physically moved the planning process to those nodes. The next thing you need to know is the Manhattan method. We use the Manhattan method for calculating the heuristic. It is not the only heuristic that you can use, but it's the one we used. Okay? It counts the number of blocks between a particular node and the goal node. No diagonals, and you ignore whether or not you can actually path on the nodes between the two. Finally, you need to know how you generate the path once you have discovered the goal. Okay, how the path is generated once the goal is reached. The way this works is you simply trace the parent references back from the goal to the start, and then you reverse the order, and that gives you the path. Okay, yes?
Are we going to need to manually work through one?
Perhaps. Yes. So what we did in class would be, like, with drawing it all out and sort of thing, if you can do that, you'll be fine.
You said no diagonals, right?
Excuse me?
No diagonals?
No diagonals?
Is that what you said?
For Manhattan.
Manhattan.
No diagonals for the Manhattan method. The Manhattan method for calculating the heuristic does not use diagonals, but you need to be able to deal with diagonal movement. G costs 10 for horizontal, vertical, 14 would be diagonal. Other questions? Okay, next thing. Be able to explain how agents use Minimax to make decisions in an adversarial environment. Again, last class, we spent a good bit of time on Minimax. Be able to explain how it works. Questions on that? Again, Minimax works by projecting X number of ply ahead. You go all the way down recursively to the last state, and then you trace it up. Okay, you back up the value. On Max's turn, you back up the highest value. On Min's turn, you back up the lowest value until you get to where you are. Last thing, again, along the same idea of Minimax, we talked about alpha-beta pruning. If I gave you a tree like this, with only the bottom numbers populated, and I said run Minimax algorithm on this, along with alpha beta pruning. Show me the best choice, along with Xing out any of the branches that would get pruned off. And this is what we get. Okay. I just posted the other video online where we worked through several examples of this. So if you don't remember this very well, definitely go back and check those out. But this is a completed example that you can use. Okay, just prune here, prune here. This is the final path that is taken. Good? One more thing. So this is what we did today. Be able to explain the characteristics of knowledge-based agents, knowledge-based inference mechanism, and how the knowledge base plays a role in how they make decisions. All right. Question.